Hello, friends. Hello, this is TAMI Lynn Chambers, and I'm here to read from our latest book in the Bringers of the Light series. This is my Bringers of the Light Maui series, and we're reading Hula, which is the first book in that series. If you enjoy this audiobook, thank you so much for following along. All my audiobooks so far are free to listen to on YouTube and TLC for the Soul podcast on all major podcast providers. You can find playlists on YouTube and on Spotify for each of the audiobooks. You can also read or follow along on the ebook version for free. All my ebooks are free to read on all major ebook providers. My publisher, Smashwords, Apple Books, Google Books, Barnes & Nobles, and many others. And some of these are on paperback so far. If you want to get yourself a little paperback version, you can check Amazon and Barnes & Nobles to see if your favorite TLC for the Soul, TAMI Lynn Chambers books are out there in hard copy. But for now, let's get going. Oh, and before I say that, we write these books, most of them on our Bringers of the Light Sundays podcast series, where we use the books. I use the books as part of my work, my healing work and my healing practice, and as divination tools on both my YouTube channel and on the podcast as well. We write these books together. I channel in a chapter every Sunday for the Bringers of the Light series, and we use those as divination tools and healing tools to talk about the energies for the week ahead. And my books are also used in many of my workshops and classes that I have over on my Patreon channel, TLC for the Soul. So plenty of places to play with TLC for the Soul and play with the Bringers of the Light. A bringer of the light is me, it's you, it's all of us that have come here during this special time on the planet to help raise the vibration and just make this all much more magical. Make life, make the mundane magical. All right. And without further ado, this is Hula, Chapter 1. It doesn't have to be like that. Bunny chopped lettuce and scooped poi onto plates piled high for the celebration dinner. Her best friend Candace Capricorn, also known as Beatrix Witherton, was getting married again. Candace ran the nightly luau and pork roast up on the North Coast. She doubled as a Hula instructor and Huna magic practitioner and was well known for her community, even if she was a mainlander. She'd studied with the best Huna magic teacher in Hawaii, Ka-Pe A'ani Luckfoot. Ka-Pe had taught Candace since she was a young girl. Candace had been dropped off at school every day by her mother, Miss Misty Rose. Misty would leave Candace at school and then hula the day and night away to make the rent. Her job paid well, and soon she was away giving hula lessons and traveling to the other islands. Candace was left in the care of Ka-Pe's mother, Ingrid Lalani. Ingrid treated Candace like the daughter she never had, and between Ingrid and Ka-Pe, Candace had a well-rounded life. Candace had had many relationships over the years, but her favorite person in the whole wide world was Travis. Travis had met Candace when he had stopped at the poi house for an iced lemonade and some conversation. Candace was helping Bunny and Kay when it was busy during peak times, and she had fallen in love with Travis right at the start when he moved up to the bar and asked her for her number. He didn't play games, and when he liked someone, he let it be known. And he liked Candace, who was wearing strawberry printed shorts and a Hula t-shirt. Hula had been her mother's idea, but she'd never had time to spend on the business. So she'd printed some shirts, left her ideas on a napkin for Candace, and taken off to Waikiki. Candace had presented the Hula idea to Bunny and Kay, and they thought the plan was solid, although the money to make it a reality wasn't quite where it needed to be. So Candace worked tables at the poi house, saving for the day when she could buy the small bungalow up at the North Shore and open for students. She'd almost had enough to make the first and last month's down payment, and then the owner, an old surfer from the Fiji Islands, would let her take over the remaining payments and move in. 2 more months to go, Candace figured, as she did simple math and pocketed her tips, which were growing rapidly in a small investment account she had started for herself. And then Travis had come along. He hadn't told her much about himself when they'd met over a year ago, but soon they'd become fast friends, and after their first anniversary of dating, he had presented her with a ring and the deed to the bungalow and its future as Hula High if she still wanted it. He would bankroll the whole thing if she let him, and so after a few days of heavy pondering on Candace's part, she accepted his entire offer. And so now here we are, spooning poi, chopping lettuce, and wondering how life passed so quickly. Bunny's mind turned to Kay, and she wondered about their future. But rather than get all in a tizzy about what could happen, what might happen, and what might never come, she was just happy in the moment. Heck, it was Maui, for heaven's sake. She didn't need anything else in that moment. So she was happy for Candace and Travis, and excited to see Kay when he got in from his fishing on the catamaran. All was right in her world, although she still had that strange feel of being watched as her mind went back to the Death Marcher, the weirdly opening portals on the island, and to the bringers of the light. She needed to talk to her mentor, Kellyanna, and ask about her next assignment. She felt something coming, and it didn't feel quite right. And Bunny was right. Something was coming, and it would change all their lives for better or worse, depending on how you choose to roll. Chapter 2. It Can Happen. Kellyanna had an appointment that day with her newest recruit, Bunny Witherspoon. Bunny was a fairly new agent, having only been deputized at the winter solstice. Bunny had a near-death experience earlier that year and had been catapulted by her guardian angel right out of the outer bands and into the Bringers of the Light registry. It was very challenging to be called up to this level of service, and Bunny had somehow gotten to jump the line a little thanks to her enormous karmic good fortune. When Bunny was pulled through the portal by the Death Marcher, she had gone through a strange detachment from her soul. It was only a millisecond in Earth time, but it had been enough to cause a huge shift in her consciousness. Now it was time for her to upgrade. Kellyanna, as her mentor, had been given permission to show Bunny the next part of her journey so that she could plan and prepare for what was to come next. This was special dispensation at the core, and the powers high above Kellyanna had a list of souls who were receiving this special information. This was a very important transition in Bunny's future, and based on her status, her karmic entitlement, and divine timing, it was time for her to move forward. Now, Bunny had been seeing the signs and noticing that slowly over the past few months, things had seemed to be getting better in her life. But because her eyes had been closed to the future, she had not been able to make out exactly when something would change, how it would manifest, or even who might be coming to help her out. She had diligently and rightfully been practicing her soul work and had on every occasion made the attempt to follow the guidance she received from her guides and angels. Angelic beings were surrounding various Earth locations at this time in order to assist with the massive endeavor to create these shifts for the aforementioned souls. The only thing they had been instructed to do, well, the souls that is to keep believing and trusting that they were worthy of all they had been wishing for. And Bunny had big wishes. So did Kay and Candace and many others. But for right now, we focus on Bunny. Her life was about to massively shift, and she had no idea when. She had been told by her guides to prepare, but so far the only preparatory guidance she had received was to not give up and to keep believing. But that was about to shift. In the coming days, Bunny would be receiving very specific and actionable guidance on how to prepare for these changes. And her job then was to take action as guided, to keep track of what her guides were sharing as she was given a map to the next big shift, and to continue to believe that her good was in fact coming. At her meeting with Kellyanna in a few hours, she would be given a download of information that over the coming weeks would provide her with the details she needed for the next part of her soul journey. It was good. Very, very good. And it was time for all the souls on this list to receive everything that they had worked so long and hard to obtain. The magic is happening and will be happening. The shift will come, and everyone, Bunny included, on this next leg of their journey would have a very fortuitous outcome.